Hey guys, welcome to the first installment of Appropriate Audiences. I'm Travis Hastings. With me today I have Steve Silva and Haley Durant, and this week we saw Rian Johnson's Looper. Now let's take a look at our first expectations.
Hey guys, Travis here.
And Steve?
And we're actually just about to go see Looper with the whole cast and crew. We want to get their first expectations, so take a look.
Well, my expectations of the film are kind of high. I'm excited because Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis are the same person, which is kind of exciting. They're both really good actors. So.
I honestly expect this film to be a really good action film. I'm just not sure about Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis being the same person. I really think that's going to bother me. We'll see how it plays out.
So basically all I did was watch the trailer, and all I'm really expecting is for, it could be a huge hit or a huge miss. I'm not really sure what to expect, but I'm excited, and I love Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so let's get started.
I've actually been a fan of this director's work since about 2006 when he did the movie Brick, also with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So keeping in mind he did that and 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, I expect nothing but awesome from this movie.
Okay guys, so what are your opening thoughts?
I mean, like I said in the expectation, I was really excited for this because I'm a big fan of the director. I really wasn't too let down. I mean, you have the trailer, shows it as a big action film, whereas it was more like Drive, where it focuses more on plot and being serious. So overall, I really did enjoy it. A little slow in the middle, but it definitely, keeps your attention.
I honestly thought it was going to be an action film, so I was a bit surprised of how it was a lot more sci-fi, and it was more gory than I thought. Like, it didn't bother me, but it just kind of took me by surprise. But I enjoyed it. I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about it.
Okay. In the film, they actually utilized this thing when Joseph Gordon-Levitt wanted to talk to his future self, Bruce Willis, and they actually cut messages onto their arms, and Bruce Willis actually saw it as a scar while Joseph Gordon-Levitt was talking. So how do you think this scar communication, was it effective, do you think, for the time travel-esque?
See, I thought that was really cool. It's definitely something that wouldn't have worked if Bruce Willis wasn't there in the present time. Ultimately, it's not something I had ever thought of. It's not anything I've seen before that way, so I thought it was clever on the writer's part to include that in there.
Yeah, no, it was really smart. I didn't realize that's what they were doing at first, but I mean, it seems simple enough. It seems like a simple idea. If you need to communicate with your present or future self, that's the way to do it. It's like writing notes on your hand, almost.
Yeah.
Which they also did in the movie.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting is for the way, the style of the movie. It was in 2044, but the characters' costumes and some of the vehicles they drove, it's like a mixed times. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's is costume seemed like it could be, I don't know, out of the 50s, like a Grease era kind of film. But his car, he drove like a Miata. So I was like, I don't understand. What do you think, the significance of maybe the tie scene, where it's you got to shake things up a little bit, you got to have something new, something original. It's what do you think about the way the story was set and how the characters and how the whole film was set?
I feel like it was pointing out how things are very cyclical, how we cycle back to different trends and everything.
Retro.
Almost almost like we loop them.
Yeah, almost like a loop.
Do we have a mini drum set on set?
So yeah, because people always like to go back to the past things. It's cool to dress like retro or whatever. So it could have been a comment on that.
See, I thought it was a really nice way to include the old style of Hollywood, which the director clearly loves, with something new. And also, I do love that tie scene, because it's almost talking about the movie itself, whereas time travel has been done many times, but it did something new with it. Like how they're saying if you're going to wear a tie, do something new with it. So I thought that was kind of a fun little tongue-in-cheek kind of way to talk about itself without talking about itself.
Now, the whole point of this movie was supposed to be that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Bruce Willis. The prosthetics were, I thought, absolutely mind-blowing. How do you think the prosthetics were utilized? As in, do you think it was effective with the way? Did it make it actually seem like he was Bruce Willis at a younger age? And also with his mannerisms, Joseph Gordon-Levitt nailed, to me, exactly Bruce Willis. Like his mannerisms, his snarky, sarcastic attitude, and like if you could see Die Hard, and then compare Joseph Gordon-Levitt to Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard, I think it's like one and the same. So how do you think the prosthetics and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's impersonation of Bruce was?
For acting, I totally agree. Like he nailed it. But when I saw the trailers for the movie, I think maybe it was the footage they used. Like I didn't believe it. I just didn't see it at first. But then when the movie started, I was like blown away. So I think there were just some scenes where the prosthetics were maybe a little off, and I mean it happens. Like you can't be perfect 100% of the time. But yeah, I was impressed because I really thought it was going to bother me. Like I went into the movie thinking that I was like, they don't look anything alike. It's going to bug me the entire time. But just automatically, I was sucked in.
Yeah, I mean, the first 10 minutes is a little weird, but you get used to it really quickly. Your eyes start to adjust, and I spent about half the movie trying to find some kind of like seam or tell.
Like a flaw?
Yeah, I was waiting for something. I couldn't see anything, so I thought that, it's really not over the top obtrusive. It's not in your face. It just kind of blends in with the rest of the movie.
Now, they kind of marketed this as like a big blockbuster. Do you think it was a big blockbuster? Or like, it's kind of seemed like the way they marketed Drive. Drive, to me, seemed more of like an independent film, even though it was large, on like a big scale with a big budget. Do you think this was like kind of the same thing, like similar to Drive? Do you think it's more appealing to larger audiences, or?
I think that, I mean, it's the same studio that released Drive, and, both Drive and this had a really small budget, but they did a lot with this budget, I thought. So I think they're just trying to capitalize off the fact that they can make a huge return on the investment with that, because small budget, if you get a big enough crowd. Word of mouth on this should be good. I think it has the potential to be blockbuster size, but I just don't think, given the time of year and the fact that it's not in gear with most people's attention spans, I think that's going to have it kind of scaling back a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster. I think because I think some of the content is going to throw people off, and just the way it was marketed, I don't think it's going to work out very well.
What was the most impressive moment in this film to you? Like, what really just made you sit there in awe?
Shot-wise, and this is like my most audible part of the experience, was they do like these drugs that they put into their eyes, and just the shots they have in that scene to like make you feel what he feels. Incredible.
I mean, the scene that I was just taken back by, not a lot happened. It was the end when the mom was just in the field, just sitting there. It was just so beautiful, like just visually. The movie was so stunning.
What had me, the scene was when you find the Rainmaker as a boy, and he was falling down the staircase, and he gets so mad that everything in the room just lifts up, and then the guys just, and there was no sound whatsoever, which made it like that much, like, it was beautiful. It was beautiful in like a disgusting, gory way. But
It's so beautiful.
what was the least impressive thing to you? Like, what didn't you like about it? Maybe a specific scene, or just in general?
See, I want to say when they first introduced Emily Blunt's character, that's when for like 10 minutes I was like, all right, time to just wait for something to happen. So I thought that her introduction kind of,
Like, it was a little slow,
Yeah.
kind of.
I don't know if impressed is the right word, but the scene where they were mutilating present Seth,
Okay.
so to obviously get future Seth, that really threw me off because I wasn't expecting that at all. So that kind of
so the part where he starts to lose his fingers?
yeah,
Oh.
well no, and like his hands and his feet, like that really threw me off. I did not like that.
For those of you who have not seen the movie, Seth is not just Gordon-Levitt's character.
Yeah.
Much smaller character.
He's one of the loopers, just to let you know. There's a whole group of them.
It's like a union, but not.
So, how do you think they utilized comedy in this film? They had a couple funny moments, and one they played off of like sarcasm with Bruce Willis, because that's his nature.
Yes.
How do you think they utilized it, and what can you name a specific part you liked the best?
The funniest part was when they were doing, showing the 30 years of like what he did with those 30 years, and they were showing obviously him progressing into Bruce Willis, and the part where it was just half, like he had some hair still, but he was balding at the
Bruce
same
Willis
time.
hasn't had hair since like
It was,
1992, so
it was the funniest thing ever because it was just like really scraggly, and it was
you
See-
can just see him balding.
Yeah.
It was great.
See, the part that we were talking about was there's one part where he first finds out that Bruce Willis is supposed to be future him. And it's like this really dramatic. He shoots, he ducks, he throws a bar at him, knocks him out, and they show that scene later from far away, and it's just comical the way
Yeah,
they do
there's
it.
no music, no
Yeah,
like nothing happening right
Just
there.
fall over, get up, punch, run away.
So what do you think? How like this film had like a subplot of killing children, like because Bruce Willis was trying to prevent his wife from dying in the future. So in order to do that, he wanted to kill the Rainmaker, but he didn't know exactly which child it was. So he had to kill people in the future, or kill their child version of themselves. So do you think that was like too dark for this kind of movie? Like, what were your thoughts on it?
That's why I was saying I don't think it would be a blockbuster, because I really think that the general audience would not go for that. I mean, it really upset me that that's like where the movie was going. I just thought that was a pretty dark turn. Like, I understand why it happened. I don't. Just killing children is never acceptable, in my opinion, unless it's like Hitler. I mean, come on.
Yeah, unless it's like Schindler's List. Then it's completely acceptable
Yeah.
if it's Schindler's List, so it's quite all right then.
See, to me, since you know, walking in, this
No,
is,
I meant if it's killing Hitler.
It was a joke.
since you know it's high concept sci-fi. Personally, I don't want to say okay with it because it makes me sound like a horrible person, but I was okay with it. I mean,
In terms of sci-fi, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see why it was
in terms of the
necessary.
movie's progression, it made sense why they went with that storyline. I mean, it just added to your emotional depth into the movie, and it also played into the whole, if this is what future him's willing to do, yet like you like present him so much more, so it kind of added to that.
Now, I felt like while watching this movie, the way they set it up was making it seem Bruce Willis was the protagonist and Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the antagonist. Like, why would he kill himself? Why? What point is this? But they kind of switched it, and I think that's why they also utilized the killing children to make Bruce Willis seem like the antagonist when he really was just trying to save his wife and trying to save his younger self's future. It's like, so how do you feel like the way they juxtaposed like all of the who's the bad one, quote unquote? Like, do you think it was okay, like the way they kind of made you guess about, or like how did you feel who was the bad person in this film? Like, I always felt like maybe the people in trench coats were just like the setback bad people. Like, you're like, okay, they're bad. All right, we'll keep it there, but we don't know like which side is the real bad one. Like, what do you think?
I mean, definitely, as far as villains go, I mean, you definitely have the Looper Corporation, but then I really feel like Bruce Willis was supposed to be the one you were rooting against the whole time.
It's just one of those interesting things where you're rooting for Joseph Gordon-Levitt the entire time, but he's part of this like terrible organization. So that's what I find interesting, is that you want him to, obviously succeed in what he's trying to do, yet he's part of this thing that like kills people, but that like for some reason that doesn't bother you. You're just like, no, I get it. Mm-hmm.
He's a murderer, but he's trying to learn French to pick up the waitress.
Exactly. Would you see this, like, would you recommend people to see this in theaters, wait for Netflix, or just not see it at all?
I'd say definitely see it in theaters. Matinee, if you're really that wary about it, save $2.
I'm gonna have to go with Netflix.
Why is that?
I just don't think it's a movie that you should watch in the theater, because I think there are moments when you need to pause and kind of like take in what's happening, and maybe if you're watching with someone else, to discuss, like, so you can digest what's happening and then continue. Like, I don't think it's something that you can just watch.
All right. Well, do you guys have any closing thoughts about the movie in its entirety? Like,
I'm excited to see what Rian Johnson does next.
I really want to see Brick now. I haven't seen that yet,
You,
so.
you should see Brick.
I know,
Just go see it now.
just walk off set.
Let's go.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this week for Appropriate Audiences. This has been Steve Silva and Haley Durant. I'm Travis Hastings. Make sure you tune in next week when we actually see James Moore's Pitch Perfect. This is Appropriate Audiences. I'm Travis Hastings, and we'll see you at the movies.